Hey there! Welcome to the In the Garage podcast by CarParts.com. I'm your host, Mark DeGrasse, your go-to buddy for all things automotive. From the roar of your weekend project car to the hum of your daily drive, we've got it covered. Whether you're a gearhead who loves keeping your cars, trucks, SUVs, and hot rods in tip-top shape, or you're just dipping your toes into the world of automotive, we promise you a ride filled with knowledge, laughs, and top-notch advice from the industry's finest. So buckle up and let's hit the road together. Before we dive into today's episode, let's take a moment to hear a word from our sponsors, the amazing partners who make this podcast possible.
Download the CarParts.com app and accelerate convenience with access to over 850,000 auto parts at your fingertips. We make it easier to find the parts you need, anytime, anywhere. Get it now on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Today, we have Ryan Henderson, a principal at CarParts.com, and we're talking beginners, because I think a lot of people want to start working on their cars. They're kind of intimidated by, the culture maybe, or maybe just picking up a wrench and figuring out how things work. I figured today we kind of talk about what the heck a principal is, and then get into, how do people get into cars?
Yeah, no. So principal is a role that is ambiguous on purpose. It's supposed to
be anything.
Yeah, it's supposed to be encompassing of a lot of different things. So it's like lots of data, but lots of also just automotive, in-depth knowledge about like what certain things happen. Because like a lot of what we're doing is that we're trying to get people who are new. We're trying to get people who are super advanced. We're trying to get people who do it for a career, for a living, and we're trying to make sure that we capture all those customers and make it the easiest process for them possible. So, to think about everyone in that kind of setup and process, there's a lot of different pieces to there, right? Because, the person who does it for a living doesn't have the same kind of thought process someone who's just starting out. So principle, once again, I'm not sure I'm going to give you a one-word definition or one sentence definition.
Everything.
Automotive, and also just a sprinkle of machine learning and all that kind of fun stuff.
I love it. Wow, That makes the learning easier, right?
Exactly, yes.
So, let's just talk about kind of how you got into the car culture, what kind of interests, attracted you to actually start working on cars, and then how you started learning in the first place.
Yeah. So, I mean, the passion comes from the family. Is that it's always been in the family. My dad since like the early or the late 90s has had a Acura NSX.
Oh, wow.
And that's been but he's been unfairly hammering into my head it's the world's best car ever made. So it's to the point where it's not even
Oh, it's one of those cultural things where you're like, oh yeah, it's the best, it's a supercar.
Well, it's because he's Gordon Murray with the McLaren F1, and he's like, Gordon Murray drove that every day to design the McLaren F1. So it's like, yes, it's a great car. And that's kind of where the passion came from initially. It was my dad was big into cars. Awesome. My grandpa on my mom's side used to race cars in South Africa. So it's been around. And then I picked it up heavily when I used to go longboarding, downhill longboarding. We would drive up to the hill, and then we would longboard down. And then just more and more I realized I liked the car driving more than the longboard riding, in the mountains and stuff like that.
Let's get back to the car.
Yeah, I was like, I'll drive the car this time. It's fine. I won't longboard. Don't worry about it. You guys go. So it's those were in the hills, mountain carving, which don't do. You want to keep everything legal and above boards. This is very important that you keep everything on.
This is South Africa.
Yeah, okay, no, yeah, this is somewhere else. Yeah. So that kind of started boiling more and more and more, and got kind of more into it. And literally one day I went and bought those scary kind of drive up ramps.
Oh yeah.
From the store, and I drove up my car and just went underneath and started staring at things, which is super intimidating. For anyone first time, there's a lot of things in a car. So fully understand why it might be scary to try to do that, just on a whim kind of thing.
Well, I think we all have that vision, when you're working on your car, the wheel comes off or something on the freeway, and you're like, oh my God, this is totally my fault.
Yeah. And then you go try to take it off and it takes you half an hour. You're like, man, if I knew that was just more complicated, I'd feel more confident that wouldn't happen.
Well, I think when you see somebody else do it, you're like, okay, this isn't complicated at all.
Yeah.
It's just, they know how to do it because they've been taught, and there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the initial tip in was just literally going underneath my car. And then I met a friend of mine, his name is Mitchell, and he got me, so I met him and I was like, oh, I have a new car, and new cars are faster. And he had an old 89 BMW, and we were on a racetrack, and he blew my doors off like I was standing still. And that was that moment I sold my newer car and bought an 89 BMW. And it's just basically just getting in there. Is that not being afraid to break things, not being afraid to try things. There's so many resources out there. CarParts.com has so many DIY resources, videos, how-to articles, things like that you can lean on those very easily. And it was a natural progression. Is I started working at a tire store, which was just one step closer. And then I opened a shop with Mitchell.
Oh, nice.
Well, he started the shop. I wouldn't work for him. I'm not a great mechanic. Let's just
Bare hands.
I was there.
You know what the tools are called.
Yeah, and then I could generally be like, that 10 mil needs to come off before Mitchell comes in and does the rest for me. It was just like a progression of that, kind of like just getting more and more into it, meeting new people, meeting new like communities, things like that. And then just kind of getting into like corporate was from there. Was that like I was working for a race car manufacturer, or race car ECU manufacturer, and got more involved with that, and it just turned into a snowball. Eventually gets to the point where it's like the initial tip-in is very difficult, scary, kind of intimidating. But then once you get that snowball rolling, it's like you find yourself 20 years later with like 14 cars, and you've got various scars from working on them. Yeah.
We all have that uncle. For me, it's my Uncle Paul.
Okay.
He has, everything in his driveway. 8 cars lined up.
So I'd like to visit Paul soon if you don't mind. We can set up an appointment. I'd love to go see what he has, his collection.
Well, don't get him started.
Okay.
We've already talked about it. It's
Okay.
like, here's what you need to do with the podcast. I'm like, okay.
You need to talk about the Crown Vic.
The Crown Vic?
It's your Crown Vic guy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's Crown Vic.
We all know Crown Vic guy. He's like the 97 with a 4.8 V8. Like he's like very specific about which one's the best.
Uncle, he would come by, and pick up me and my dad to show off the new project car.
Yeah.
And then this one time we went down the street, and my dad and I knew that the street had a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently my uncle didn't. And so he just went full bore into it. We're like, he knows there's a fence at the end of this street. And then all of a sudden he like slams on the brakes. He's like, did you know this was a dead end?
Yes.
But he always did stuff like that. So we're like, okay, he's just messing with us. But don't assume.
He sent it, right? He sent it more than he should have. Got it.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Every day.
No, but that's like kind of like the roundabout way I got into it. And it literally, like, I just remember the first time going under there and being so terrified. Because it's like metal and plastic and sharp bits, hot bits. And it's very intimidating, but like once you do it a couple times and you understand and like compartmentalize it, and you're like, all right, I am going to work on my wheel today or my brakes today. You take that huge focus of 10,000 moving parts and focus it down to one bit. And it's like really not that intimidating because of the resources you have, the support you have. You have friends who know how to do stuff. You have people you can reach out to, communities that are out there that can help you out with that stuff. It's like, there's no reason not to get into it.
Exactly. Well, and the cool thing is there's professionals all over the place too. So if you do screw up something so bad, like just take it to the shop and they'll be like, absolutely. Oh, newbie idiot.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
No, it happens. And then like, as you know, so when I was working on those cars, we'd get some of those toe-ins, is that like, there is a certain level of appreciation for them trying. I know that there's like also a push and pull of like, I have to fix this guy's mistake now.
They just don't want you to advise them.
Yes, exactly. Is that once you bring it to me, it's mine.
It's
like
mine.
you go away. I won't teach you, but that's the thing, is like a shop. But if you find yourself like a community, right, is that it's super important to get involved with a community. If that's something that you're looking to, get more involved in, is that for whatever weird subsect of vehicles you like I was into, like 80s, BMWs, 3 Series, like a very specific one. And there's a thriving community of huge, like businesses exist within that ecosystem. And there's like multiple meets that they have from different groups and things like that. So it's like whatever you're into, there is that group that exists, and there is a community that will help you out and happily give you advice about those different pieces.
Well, I love the idea of the 89 BMW. I had guys in high school that did that. And I was just like, oh, wow, it's really a thing, People...
It's a weird thing. Yeah. It's kind of like that same era as like the 240 SX, is that the people who didn't get a 240 got an E30 because it's a front engine, rear-wheel drive, easy enough to fix on kind of thing. So it's like all the 240s in the 80s and 90s kind of got dried up from everyone turning them to drift cars and, taking them and dropping huge motor swaps into them. So it's like by the time I kind of came to the scene, all those were gone or ruined or worth $20,000 or something like that. So the E30 was like the next like progression into that, was like a front engine, rear-wheel drive. And then it's just like that passion drives like a lot of people to stay deep into that kind of like realm, because the front engine rear-wheel drive thing is kind of like going the way of the dinosaur a bit. Is that like it's difficult to find them. But then like if you go into any of these other avenues, like Civics, is like everyone does it by chassis codes. Like someone's like, I'm an EK guy only, or like I only do hatchbacks, EGs, whatever it might be. And it's like, it's infinitely deep any kind of way you go. Is that like all those branch out into a million different things, and everyone's got their specificities, and, the 97 was the best year. But like that information exists out there completely for you to use for free and get involved with. So it's like, it's scary that tip in again, but
Yes.
like once you get in, it's like the amount of support and information out there is just unlimited.
Oh yeah. Well, I think one thing with the car community is everybody loves to share,
Yeah.
and they love to give input, and they, and it's their passion. So
Yep.
it's just like, and you're showing that you're committed to the passion by just buying a car.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, you have one too? Like, let me show you the ropes,
Yeah.
and then somebody will walk you through it.
Well, that's the next big thing too, is that it's about like investments, right? If you want to look at like as a financial standpoint kind of thing, is that this is your vehicle for the most parts in America, right? Is that like for the majority is that there's not like great public transport. You need a car.
Oh yeah, you have to have a car.
You have to have a car. And maintaining on your own is like, I don't think people realize how much money you save by doing that, right? Like,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think for your average person, there. Well, I mean, I had an assistant, and she came in. She's like, "Oh, I just got a $700 oil change," and I'm like,
BMW?
"Oh my god, no!" It was like a Santa Fe or something like that. I'm just like, how? How could that be 700? Well, transmission, fluid switch, and my air filter was dirty, and all these things. It's like, no, that oil change should have cost you what, $20 in oil and a filter?
Yeah, I mean, like it depends on a lot of different things, but like same thing is that BMW's, Mercedes is that they want to kind of like make it seem like you can't work on it, but they're very accessible, just like a Santa Fe, just like those things like that. And an oil change is literally taking a drain plug off, taking a filter out, back in, and then fill it up again, and you're done. Like there's no more to that. And then there's there's disposal that your city takes care of, so you can contact your city and they can get rid of your old oil for you. There's things like you said, air filters, like either your cabin, yeah, and they're not that expensive at all.
No,
because you're paying for someone's labor, right? And then I think a mechanic does exist in the space that like they may be worth it when you want to get your transmission replaced.
yeah, something
Big things, but like you're paying them $100 to replace your air filter, which is part of their job description, but an air filter is seriously a couple clips and you have it in, and the risk is low.
Yes. Well, but I will say that just replacing your air filter will be a good intro into like, hey, this isn't scary and it's not going to explode. And
Yes.
It's hard to screw up. Like,
Exactly.
Just watch a video
and there's a video for your 2009 Santa Fe. Like there is 100% a video of someone on YouTube. Hey, this is Robert, I'm here to install, and then this got for that specific vehicle, that engine, that video, or at least like write up exists somewhere to follow through step by step. And it's like Legos, you just beep, beep, and then you throw it in and it's done.
Exactly. Well, and a lot of times if you just look at a car, maybe they don't have your exact car online, but they might have something that's a little bit similar or the same year or whatever. Like a lot of those videos kind of cross over too, where you're like, okay, well, I was a 2009 and I have an 11, but
Exactly.
Yeah, well, most likely you'll figure it out.
No, exactly. And I think that's like also a great tip into that kind of like, all right, I want to start modifying. And you're like, ooh, I did my air filter with like just a regular, paper filter. What if I throw like a K&N, like a little, another filter in there, and you go, ooh, I see now where the exhaust manifold is. What if I, like thought about doing an exhaust one day? And just getting familiar with the engine bay like that is just like great, because even like, let's say emergency situations, right? On a road trip with friends, and then something happens.
Death Valley.
Yeah, right. That helps tremendously in those situations too, just to be aware of your surroundings and know generally like if something can be fixed or not fixed, and get you off the side of the road and safety wise. So it's huge.
All right, folks, we've got something special coming up. It's time to pause for a moment and hear a word from our sponsor. Stay tuned; you won't want to miss this.
For 2 decades, PowerStop has had one mission: top quality brake upgrades for every ride. With one box, you get pads, rotors, and hardware, available for 98% of vehicles. Upgrade with PowerStop. Brake with confidence. Get yours now at CarParts.com.
Well, with all that said, do you have a recommendation in terms of a car that's kind of fixable, friendly, has a good, friendly community? Are there different vehicles that fit that description?
So if like everyone asks me sometimes, like, what's your dream car? And it takes me 3 days to answer in that kind of the same arena, because it's like,
it's a big decision.
I love all cars in their weird, quirky ways. So I mean, it also starts with budget, right? Is that budget's the first stop. So if you're looking for like kind of like the least expensive car, you're going to get something that's a little bit like maybe not great exterior wise. That's the first thing you look for. If you're looking for a budget car that's like reliable, is you get like a Honda or Toyota, any across the board. And if they have like a little bit of body damage, nothing crazy, that you'll find yourself a really good deal there. That's a very good entry car, inexpensive because it doesn't look so great, but then you can start fixing it yourself, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Spray paint and hammers exist for a reason.
And you're not going to care because you got a deal on it, and you're saving $2,000 on whatever else it would have cost you to fix it somewhere real.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that the parts are plentiful for them. They're reliable for the most part. Like if they're 300,000 miles on them. So I'd say like in that like least expensive range is like a Honda or Toyota. And then you start getting to like, what do you want to do? Do you want to off-road? Do you want to race cars? Do you want to, show car kind of thing as well? And then there's like within each of those sectors is like, depending on which car you want is like more or less reliable. But there's the things like if you want enthusiast cars, like 350Zs are now a little bit older.
Oh yeah, you get one cheap.
Yeah, and they're great. Front engine rear-wheel drive kind of thing as well. Plentiful parts, big aftermarket community. If you want a truck, same thing as like any kind of Toyota, but like Ford F-150, one of the most popular vehicles ever made. Yeah. Pick which one you want.
No, part availability, that's huge.
Yes.
Because it is a pain in the butt when you can't find a part.
Yes. And then the thing is, there's also community based on that as well. Is that like with the the 89 BMW, community, is that you have to rely if there's a video made by the one guy who makes the videos for those cars. But once an F-150 is the most popular car in America or vehicle in America, everyone makes a video. I'll make a video when I get home for an F-150 just for fun, right? Like, so it's like, I think that if you stick with like the more popular vehicles that are on the road, the more you'll learn about them. And then like the research again, for if you want a 4.8 versus a 5.3, there is a whole forum post about two guys arguing about that, guaranteed. Like there's no way that does not exist in the world. So that's I think that like that kind of like that band again of like if you're looking over $10,000, you can find a lot of good cars these days for used cars for around 100,000 miles. If you're looking at maybe some of your like not turbocharged vehicles, because turbocharged engines are a little bit more high strung.
I think I'd avoid that for the most part.
Yeah, in that range, right? Like eventually, if you get one with lower miles, but it's a high strung motor, so maybe like a not so high strung motor with a little bit of body damage, because that will reduce the price a bit. But all the cars out there right now are pretty accessible. Like there was some big shift that happened in the 2000s, early 2000s, that like manufacturers figured out they need to make cars a little bit more working. Durable, like
something. Yeah, because I remember cars. You have broken down cars all the time in the 90s. And like my first car broke all the time. But then I remember my parents in the 80s and 90s too. They were constantly dealing with car issues.
Yeah.
But it wasn't super expensive to fix. It was $40 and some cussing from dad on the weekend.
The cussing still exists, so that tax still exists.
Oh god, well yeah. Now that I'm older, I get it. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't want to break stuff.
Yes.
So you just use your words.
Well, important tip is that when you're pushing or something like that on a wrench, if you're pushing into something, you're going to end up hitting that and breaking your knuckles.
Oh, God.
So open palm push. Open palm push.
Ah, that's a great tip, too.
Because the worst is you end up just hitting that like that, and then
then you're fine. And
you're not breaking your knuckles.
Yeah,
so.
Losing your nails.
Yeah, because that punch, like let's say it's like 3 a.m, you have to be at work the next day, and you're like just putting that last piece in. That slipped wrench with combo to like punching the frame at 50 miles an hour. I've never felt that much anger in my life. Like I'm a pretty calm guy, but that like was
you
just
have to
like
combine that situation with the bolt broke.
Yeah,
and that's what led to it.
That's why it slipped, was because the bolt broke.
It slipped. Oh god.
At 3 a.m, that's like when you just start evaluating. Like you're so mad, you're calm.
You're almost like I'm just gonna sit here for a couple minutes and think about my life.
But like that satisfaction of like the next day where you do have it done and you drive to work. And you're like a little bit dirty, and you have like some dirt under your fingernails, but you've just got this huge grin on your face.
I was up late working on my car.
Yeah,
there's nothing better than that.
Like I've always had cars. Like the most expensive car I ever bought was like $10,000. That was the most expensive car I've owned. So, but there's something to me that like I really enjoy that fact of driving down the freeway like in a $4,000 or $5,000 car, $800 car.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no AC.
No AC.
You just have the windows down.
Yes.
And you look ridiculous. But.
And the night before, you just swap the transmission or something like that. And it's just like something in that arena just makes me really happy. And I want others to find that happiness in not necessarily like a bad car or a horrible car, but like just I want people to realize how fun that is to go in a machine that you participated in.
Yes, you got it running.
Yeah, you're going 80 miles, 65 down the freeway, down the freeway, and you know it gets you to work. And you look back at it and go, like, that was me. I did that. You know, that I think that's such a huge feeling that I would love more people to be a part of. And even if it's just like your air filter, like we said, or your oil change,
your wiper blades, like
wiper blades are surprisingly hard.
such a pain in the butt. Oh, it just slips on. It's like no, it doesn't.
And they like have to go like backwards in.
Oh.
I mean, there's great videos on it once again, but like it's the one that like when I see people like, oh, I can't even put wiper blades on, I was like, neither can I.
Yeah, nobody can. You do
Don't
it
feel bad
5
about it.
times, and then you wait for it to rain so you can see if it actually works.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly difficult to do those ones. Like if you can do your wipers, I'd say you can do your oil
You can do it.
changes.
You can swap an engine
Yeah,
if you can do your wipers.
Engine swaps at that point, or you're just tracking bolts. It's not actually like more complicated at that point.
Oh.
You just where the bolts need to go back.
Oh, I will give everybody a tip for that.
Okay.
Just set up a tripod with your phone and videotape yourself doing it.
That's a
And
great
then
idea.
Show the part to the camera whenever you remove it, and then you can figure it out because there's a good chance your whole floor is going to be littered with
Yeah.
tools and
No, that's a
pieces.
really good idea. I've never thought of that before.
Oh, I started doing. Well, I make videos. So.
Okay, so it helps that
I'm
you're
like, I
in a
usually post
pre-recording.
them online, but I'm like, oh my gosh, this is genius. Well, I did it for my son because he was taking apart like a tank RC car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you want to be able to put it back together, so we're just going to videotape the whole thing. And
Yeah.
you know, that worked out.
No, that's a great. So the way that also I've seen is that you get like those little magnetic bowls,
Oh, yeah.
and then you place them strategically. So they're still in a cluster, right? So it's
Yeah.
not great, but like you have them strategically. Like, oh, those are for this piece, and this for this piece. And I've also seen people take like cardboard, and then like write on a piece of cardboard like for intake manifold, and then they push the bolt through the cardboard, and all of a sudden you have this
then
like
you don't even, oh, that's great.
big board of truth that you can go
Yes.
back to.
Yeah, you can write as much as you want. I always tell it's like you can never record too much information
Correct.
about what you did because there's a good chance you think you're going to remember.
Yep.
Oh, of course these bolts go together.
Yep.
And you're like, nope, no,
Yep.
you're not.
Yeah, and then like as far as like, because I think the other thing people worry about is like the tool investment. It's like, oh, I need a huge snap-on, gigantic,
Yeah.
10-foot tall, rah, 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 mechanic set from Lowe's, or you know, or
Well, or some of the bigger tools just rent. You
Yeah.
know, just plan on the weekend and get the air compressor and whatever you need, and then bust it out all
Yeah.
at once. I think the planning helps a lot.
exactly, yeah. So just a inexpensive mechanic tool set. It doesn't it doesn't have to be the best in the world. It can just be the one that's got 150 pieces. You've got ratchet, you've got screwdrivers, and that will get you a very far way. Like before you start getting to some like very serious projects, everything's 10 mil,
Yeah,
all the
don't
way
worry about
down. Yeah, and then no power tools. You can do it by hand.
Yeah.
Like you don't need things like that. Maybe,
Well, and with the power tools too, I think it's important to feel how much torque is whatever you're supposed to be putting on
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
it-
there's torque specs for
Oh
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, pay attention to that stuff. Breaking the bolt is not something I have not experienced.
Yeah.
It'll ruin everything.
Yeah, it's super important to make sure you follow like the specifications and all that stuff. Is I know people like to measure things in ugga-duggas. So when you have the impact, it's dugga-dugga, and that's like, so it's like people do. I'm like 5 ugga-duggas for this. It's like no, like you probably want to do it correctly.
Torque wrench.
Yeah,
and figure out
torque
what it
wrench.
is, yeah.
You can rent those. You can whatever it might be, and then when you're using something like that, like a power tool like that, is that to your point is you have a hard time telling like what it took to take it off and how much it needs to go back on again.
Yes.
Is that you can generally tell like when you take it off is like, oh, this is going to take like a 10-foot breaker bar,
Yeah.
versus like, oh, it's just like a little
So
guy.
easy. Yeah.
Like a service here's
hand.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
here's
uh-oh.
so anytime your oil filter, people crank them on.
Oh yeah.
But you just do it by it's hand tight.
Hand tight. And
Hand
it says it on the instructions. I will say that too. Like read the instructions.
Yeah,
It'll help.
I'm really bad at that. So
I'll figure it out.
I'm not gonna scold anyone for that, but I would really recommend reading the instructions.
That
That's gonna
makes
help a
sense.
lot. Yeah.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
If you could go back to when you got your first car,
Okay.
and you have, let's say, $5,000, what would you buy?
Yeah.
If you were going back right now?
Is it 5,000 today dollars or 5,000
No, 5,000 back then dollars would be a lot. So we have to say 5,000 today dollars.
today dollars? Yeah. There's not much in that arena, right? Like it's shrinking quickly due to many different reasons, which we'll talk
Or
about.
10,000. What's like
Yeah.
a reasonable amount?
No, 10,000. I mean, that's what I just
All right,
bought
let's do
my
that.
because I've gone through a lot of different stages of automotive ownership. As like I've raced cars, I've had BMWs, I've had commuter cars, which are my favorite.
Oh, really?
Because they're toasters, right? Yeah. You push a button down, your toast comes out, right? It's like one for one. And I'm starting to get into like overlanding, off-roading
nice.
kind of thing. I say getting into it, meaning I bought the car for it. I haven't done actual.
That's getting into it. That's the biggest decision you can make.
So
you have to.
Yeah, like I picked up a regular cab, short bed. So I'm gonna go because this is that weird specification of like this year and this motor and this chassis. So it's a regular cab, short bed, V8 4x4 Chevy Silverado.
Oh, nice.
2009 with like 100,000 miles on it. So it's like they're still expensive, but like I think that they're great cars because they have the motor is like a platform they've had forever. You can get parts very readily for them. There's tons of write-ups for them. So I'd say like in that arena, if you want to start a car, or a vehicle, a truck is a great way to go because there's tons of people who are all doing it by themselves. Like because you got like farmers, you have people, construction workers who don't have the time or money to take it to a nice fancy mechanic. They need to do it themselves. So there's tons of information from people those, and then the of course obligatory Honda, Toyota, Corolla, Civic.
Yeah, something there's a billion of them, so you'll find parts.
Yeah, and not that many moving parts because like a truck will have a bigger motor but like a Honda's a 4-cylinder little like you could hold in your hand almost kind of thing. And very reliably made parts, but that's not to like disparage any of the other ones. Like there's tons of other cars out there that just doing a little bit of research goes a very long way, right? Typing problems for this car, it will come up with a surprising amount of results. But it's basically finding what makes you happy and understanding what those caveats are with that truck or car and just diving in. Just get into it. Find the community that makes you happy. Find the events that make you happy. Are you into off-roading? Are you into track days? Whatever it might be. And just get involved. And just give it a try.
Yeah, just show up and then start making small repairs, and you'll find out how it works. And
the basic maintenance stuff, and then as things start rattling or making weird noises, look into those, jack it up, look at the stuff, shake pieces, move things, ask questions. The information's all out there for you to like kind of be successful in that venture to dive into that. And like I said, is that you're either going to just keep doing it as like a money saver, or you'll wake up 20 years from now with a Crown Vic full, a driveway full of Crown Vics.
Hey, but it's all a good hobby, and it's
a great
fun
hobby.
and it's functional. And I love the hobbies that cross over into function because you're like, wow, now you could fix. Well, now just don't tell anybody that you could fix stuff.
Yeah, no,
that's the trick.
That's a great point too. Is that the toaster analogy too? Is that like you can now take a toaster apart and be like, this screw goes here, this screw goes there, and this is what this does, and that I can fix these things now.
Yes.
So it does open a lot of doors as well.
It does. Well, I think there's nothing more complicated that you're going to fix than your car engine a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, but definitely worth it. You're going to get a ton out of it.
Yes. No, I think it's a huge win in many different ways. And like you said, is that like the fact that makes you go to work or, to school, whatever it might be, is just a huge bonus, right? You're not just making a thing that looks pretty on a shelf. This is a functional item that can like help you survive better.
Well, and then eventually you could, if you get to that level, you could make your dream car and build it out and do all these awesome things to it.
Yep.
Versus if you ever had that money someday, you just buy some lame supercar. Well, did you build it?
Yeah, but if I won the lottery, I'd definitely.
Well, you do that too. But then you'd probably soup that up.
Well, and I would have. I've always said I would have a garage, like a warehouse full of just the worst cars. Like, I would just go find like the $1,000 rust buckets, and I'd be like, "You're mine for the next 2 months. Like, come here."
Yeah, turn it into something amazing. Yes. That's way more fun, I'll say, than even. Driving is fun.
Yeah, no, I there's a certain like you get to a point sometimes where you're just like, I love horrible cars. I want the one that's like
give me a beater and I'll turn into something.
Yeah, like an old car that's got like the problems. I like the kind of weird things. I like that it was like the first time that this company's ever made a turbocharged engine, so they haven't figured it out.
Like the worst situation ever.
Yeah, there's the same weird channels, right? Is that you find your thing, and sometimes it's weird stuff like that.
That's true. Wow. Well, good for you. I'm glad you're out there fixing the cars that everybody avoids because there's too much work.
Yes. Us weirdos exist.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. This has been fantastic. I think you gave a lot of good insights into, how it's not scary to get into cars, some real practical ways to get into cars, and, just some of the issues that you're going to face, like, torque and wrenches and things like that.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just do it.
That's
Get
it.
in there.
That's the full summation. Just do it.
Well, do you have a blog that people could check out with your car builds, or should they just go to CarParts.com?
CarParts.com, because that's generally where
There
some
you
of that
go.
will
That's
show
where
up.
everything's going. All right. So if you want more from Ryan, check out CarParts.com.
Thank you.
Go. All right, Gearheads and enthusiasts. That's another lap completed here at the In the Garage podcast by CarParts.com. Thanks for taking this ride with us today. Don't forget to check out CarParts.com for all your automotive needs, because we know you value quality and convenience. Keep those engines purring, stay safe on the roads, and remember, no matter what your automotive interests are, we're here to fuel your passion. Until next time, I'm Mark DeGrasse.